Hi everyone, my name is Kimberly Funk and this is my action research project on cooperative learning strategies. My project took place at the school I currently teach at, which is Churchill Junior High School located in central New Jersey. I conducted it in a ninth grade biology in-class resource setting, which consists of 23 students and 2 teachers, 10 of those students being special education students. My research question was, which strategies of cooperative learning promote the most student engagement? I chose this question because recently our curriculum was switched to biology for ninth grade, and teachers had questioned the effectiveness of some of the activities that we were implementing. So instead of having a more traditional lecture discussion-based classroom with note-taking, you walk into our science classrooms now and you see students in groups on a daily basis conducting a lab experiment or doing some sort of activity together in a group. So in the end, I wanted to get what strategies were promote the most engagement among students in the cooperative learning setting. We all know what cooperative learning is. It's an instructional method which allows students to work together in small groups to complete a common goal or activity. There are a variety of different teaching strategies to use in the cooperative learning classroom. However, I was only able to do 3 different activities due to the amount of time I had to collect data and implement them. The first strategy that we did was the jigsaw method. Students for the jigsaw method receive a problem or assignment to solve. They start off in their home groups to conduct their own research independently. Then they move on to their expert groups and they have to share this information. Next is group roles, which students are each given a specific role to play while completing an assignment as a group. Lastly, round robin, students contribute, develop, and generate ideas in a group setting. Methods, the very first thing I had to do was gain permission from the administration. Little did I know I had to go all the way up to the assistant superintendent to gain that permission, which is why I was so delayed in conducting my research for this project. But once I did gain permission, I sent home the consent forms, gave the kids about 2 or 3 days to get those in. And then after that, I started implementing my first cooperative learning strategy and collected data and did that until I completed all 3 of the different cooperative learning strategies. So I implemented 3 different cooperative learning strategies on 3 different days. The data I collected was both qualitative and quantitative data. As you could see to the right, I had the students complete a brief little survey after each activity, giving me their overall rating of the activity, whether or not everyone in their group participated equally, and whether or not they would want to do this activity again. As far as my data, I took tally on student engagement. I based it on whether students were on task and completing the activity, having discussion that was on topic versus having to prompt kids and focus them and having off-topic discussion. And I also wrote down observations of how the activity went and things that I noticed throughout the process. The first activity we did was the round robin. We had students overall really enjoyed this activity. We had high participation among all group members, and we also had a high percentage of students wanting to do this activity again. So we modified this round robin a little bit, and we had one person from each lab group stay at their table to present to the other lab groups as they rotated around the room. So they were given about 2 minutes to present their findings of a lab that they had to do in class to their fellow classmates. And it was great because we saw the students asking each other questions, helping each other if they weren't understanding, and just having communication about what went on during the lab. So the round robin activity I felt was really engaging with the students. I heard off-topic discussion maybe once, and I heard students, like I said, asking questions, helping others, and just communicating with everybody that went to their table. So I thought it was a really good activity, and I think it's one that we're definitely going to keep and try again. And students enjoyed it, and my co-teacher and I thought students were highly engaged in it. So it's an activity that we will definitely be keeping for the future. The next activity is the jigsaw. For this activity, students in their home groups had to research 2 specific organelles. So each student had to do 2 different organelles at their table. They were given a certain amount of time to do their independent research. And then after that, they were asked to meet in their expert groups to switch information, discuss if they had trouble finding information, or maybe they found some interesting information. So overall, about 44% of students like this activity. Equal participation dropped a little bit, as did would you want to do this activity over again. Overall, with my data collection and observations, I noticed that there was a high level of engagement during independent research, and while the kids were doing their research on their own organelles and asking what it is that they had to research and things like that. So overall, independently and in their home groups, they did great. It wasn't until they went into their expert groups that students got off task and off focus, because they already researched the information. So they kept saying, why do we need to be in these expert groups when we all already have the same information? So that's something that we'll have to work on in the future. But overall, I think it was a good activity. We'll have to try and tweak the expert groups just a little bit and give the kids techniques and strategies to use when they are in those expert groups to get the most out of that time. But overall, I think the jigsaw activity was effective, and it's an activity that we'll keep for the future, just may have to modify it slightly. Lastly, our group roles. For this group role activity, we did an activity called POGL, which are activities designed based on scientific models, and students need to use these models to answer questions and critical thinking questions. Students did not understand why they had to be assigned group roles, but in the book where we get these POGL activities from, they do have group roles, and students were handed out a paper that said what exactly their role is and what they should be doing. I got a few comments from students saying the roles were not needed or they were unnecessary, things along those lines. And as you can see, their overall rating was 55%. Their participation dropped to 66, and only 47% of students said they would like to do this activity again. So in the future, my co-teacher and I spoke afterwards, and we don't think we are going to use these group roles for the POGL activity specifically, but we will be using them for lab experiments, because we did it in the beginning of the year, which wasn't during the time I collected my data, but we did it in the beginning of the year, and students really seemed to get into the scientific group roles that we assigned them. So in the future, we won't be using them for POGL anymore, but for lab experiments. There were a few bumps in the road. Like I said before, I had to gain permission from my administration, which set me back a little bit. I felt as though I did not have enough time to conduct my research between not getting permission and all the days off we had in November. and there definitely needs to be more research conducted, but I feel that I did find some information on cooperative learning strategies, and I do think that, the round robin is definitely one of the more engaging activities that we implemented with the students. So I saw a high correlation between student engagement and, how the students like the activity. So that's one we will definitely keep. As I said, the group roles and the jigsaw, which we'll modify slightly in the future. And hopefully once we have those activities set, we could implement different cooperative learning strategies and work with those in the classroom. I would like to share these findings with my coworkers because we're all kind of going through the same thing, trying to figure out what works best with our students and what doesn't. So, and I think I have some data that I can give them to help them along the way. And here are my references. If you want any information on cooperative learning strategies, I do have a list of various strategies that people have put together from the research I have found. So if you would like a copy of that, I definitely have that. And if not, these are my references, and thanks for listening. Bye.